Hey all, ex-art student here. I'm an artist and illustrator located in Connecticut. Today I'm going to attempt to make a mermaid painting. Not just any mermaid painting, a glass with a mermaid in it. And how might I do that? Well, I purchased this tombstone canvas that should have been for maybe bones or something decaying as a painting, but my heart desired a mermaid, so I shall make a mermaid. So I gessoed the canvas to make sure it was all prepped for when I was ready for paint, and I figured starting out with a clean slate of white canvas would work best for me in order to figure out what the heck I'm gonna do next. Not gonna lie to you guys, I was extremely nervous to do this painting. I've never painted a glass, and I don't know, I was just afraid, a lot of new things doing this, and I think I overthought it all. But when I actually got into the painting, it wasn't that scary anymore. You just have to rip the band-aid off. When I came up with this idea, I didn't really have much of a color scheme going on. I just knew the beads I'm going to use later on are blue, so I didn't want to do my normal colors of blue, purple, pink. I figured a bright, reddy peach, maybe some yellows would be nice to complement the blue. I got these colors by mixing red, yellow, and pink, as well as white. I changed up the amount here and there to get the colors I wanted. I went from light to dark, and then the fins, I wanted it to be a nice peachy pink that still went with the color theme but wasn't exactly the same colors that I've been using. For the skin, I debated if I wanted to do oranges or pinks, and I just settled on this peachy, yellowy color, and I figured the highlights as well as shadows would be orangey pink. I just had to experiment a bit. If you've seen my videos before, you know I like to color block. Just fill in the main section with one color and then eventually add more in order to create dimension as well as add those little details such as shadows. Yes, I'm redoing the fins. This is because the glass is going to be tilted to an angle, so gravity is going to be affecting the mermaid. She's basically trying not to fall out of this glass, so she's kind of scooting her fins back into the glass as well as her arms, but gravity's taking her, so the fins are going to be hanging out towards the opening of the glass. I think the shape looks much better now than it did before. When the mermaid was first scooped up, it was a full glass of water. She did not want to be captured, and now she is. The captors are tilting the glass out to get her out, so all of the water that was in there is spilling out, as well as her. She's trying her best not to fall out of the cup, but gravity's slowly taking over. Due to her hair being wet from all the water previously, I wanted it to look like it was sticking to her body due to the gravity and lack of water. At this point, I'm trying to add a little bit of blush or something to her cheeks, and it wasn't really working out. I had to paint over it quickly. I just wanted to add a little bit more facial definition, but I don't think at that point I was warmed up enough or ready for it. Usually when I mess up or I'm doing a hard task, I move on to an easier one just to build back my confidence. Doing simple lines on the fins was a lot of fun. Then I used that color where the fin and the tail met to kind of create an ombre to help blend those colors. Now is finally time to tackle the glass. I had no idea what I was doing. Did the glass pick up colors that would be on the mermaid? Should I tilt it to a certain side? What color even is glass? I looked up a lot of videos and pictures, and here's kind of my setup to help me with the lighting so it wouldn't change, and I wasn't able to tackle it just then. So I moved on to adding details, which usually makes me really happy, but the yellow that I chose did not work well, so I went a little bit more orange. It still wasn't working great, so eventually I changed this, but I start adding more and more on top to define the face and a little bit of the shadows on the body slowly. When I looked up different paintings or sketches of glass, it seemed like glass kind of took on the color of whatever its background was. I went with a light purple because it kind of matched the hair. It was obviously just a lot lighter, and I figured it'd be better than a gray. I just really wanted to make sure that the mermaid as well as the beads really popped out. My favorite part about painting girls is usually their face. I like being able to do a nice lip curl or cheeky little eye. Unfortunately, this mermaid's looking a little Baba Yaga-esque, so I needed to fix that. I didn't want to deal with it right away, so I went on to the hair. I was like, oh, well, my last painting, it was so much fun doing hair, so this one will be just as fun. I'm not gonna lie, the hair was a little bit tough to do. I was just trying to focus on getting the right color as well as making sure that the hair was leading towards that angle of gravity where she was being shaken out of the cup. I really like doing the different strands of the hair. It was fun to vary it up with a little bit of white or a little bit more purple to make it darker. It's just fun to add those little hints of color here and there. Next, I worked on the scales. I didn't want it to pop out too much. I wanted to still be in the same color scheme as the skin and the fin. So I mixed this orange mac and cheese color. It kind of reminded me of a sunset. I've noticed throughout painting and narrating this that I like to avoid a lot of stuff while painting and do the fun, easy stuff and then work with the annoying stuff. At this point, I had nothing else to do besides work on the glass, so I just needed to go all in, follow my references, and try my best. I put a white rim on the edges of the cup and tried to fade it here and there. Of course, it got a little messy, so I had to fix it up here and there. But that's the thing with paint. Just paint over it if it sucks. Now I had to create that oval opening. You would think it'd be easy, and I thought it was pretty easy at first, but I had to redo this multiple times. Then I kept fading it. I just kept reworking and trying to make it look like a glass. I don't even know what a glass looks like at this point, so I just kept painting and painting. Luckily at this point I wanted to fix the face, and I found this really good peachy orange color. I used it as a good shadow underneath any hair that hit the body, as well as showing a little bit of shadow on the face. Because I keep doing a bunch of layers, I sometimes paint over certain details, and this is where I go back in and pop them out again by adding that color on top. I want to make sure that it's not too faded in with everything else. Sometimes you just need to keep covering things until you get to the right point. I had to fiddle with the glass again. I wanted it to look as much like a glass as it could before I put those beads in, because at that point it's going to be really hard to paint around them if they're sewn into my canvas. I got these beautiful blue iridescent beads that are going to represent the water in this piece. So I'm going to string them onto a clear string and weave them throughout the canvas. I'm going to make it look like it's water spilling out of the cup, and there'll be strands of water falling out of the cup that will naturally fall down due to the gravity. So how am I going to make this happen? My ideas were to just use a needle to poke some holes through the canvas and weave my string through. Unfortunately, my clear string is too big for the hole in a needle. Eventually, I was able to wiggle it through using different sewing tools and put all of the beads on. Once I had a nice strand that looked like it was on the inside of the cup, I had to weave the string through the back end of the canvas and then weave it towards the front of the canvas because I didn't want it to pass through the lip without looking like it naturally fell out of the cup lip. I created varying sizes. I wanted it to be long strands and short strands, so it looked like different bits of water falling out. And I didn't want it to be too uniform. I wanted it to naturally have the gravity flow and be a beautiful piece. Sit back and watch some beading, and I'll catch up with you in a little bit. Hi guys, I finished the beading, but the glass was still off. I was hoping I would be able to avoid this, but I just needed to look more accurate. I wanted the beads to lay right. I needed to cover up any blemishes I made by poking through the holes, and just really wanted it to look like a glass. I know it's not going to be perfect, and I'm not a perfectionist. I just wanted it to have the illusion slightly and look decent. I'm finally ready to call this piece finished. Let's take a look at those close-up shots. That was so much fun. Thanks so much. If you want to subscribe, like, comment, check out my social media, please do so. All of that's in the description. You can buy my art if you want to support me on my Etsy, and I can't wait to see you guys next time. Thanks so much. I'll see you. Bye!